There's got to be a reason why everyone I know says the world has gone mad. Because, I've just watched GMTV and Sky News interviewing this female activist who had a poster taken down, and her poster said that a woman is a female, and an LGBT activist complained about that to lots of CEOs, and eventually it got taken down because it was hateful, apparently, to say that. So, women being allowed to exist and having any rights. You know what I was saying before about transgender rights, transgender activism? It's the most fascist thing I know of. As now Graham Linehan is finding out. I want to defend Graham Linehan, but his conduct has been so horrible, and he's just such a virtue signaller and hateful person, etc., that he's going to fall victim to the system he enforces. That's why no one on his side, and you look on his Twitter feed, you look at the comments from the leftists that follow him and virtue signal with him, no one is with him on the transgender issue. No one believes that, common sense anymore. Common sense is now radical extremism. Whenever transgender people talk about their experiences, their feelings, they always talk about gender dysphoria. They talk about it as a mental illness, and that's what it is. That's what it needs to be recognised as. Women aren't mentally ill. A lot of them are, but, just generally, just being women. Why is the West so determined to destroy women's rights, both in the LGBT with Pride, excluding those lesbians that were complaining about trans activism, and now with this woman, with this LGBT activist, and Islam, the Islamization, which is basically just throwing a burqa on women and saying they can't have posters and things. It's just like, why is there a real war on women where we think there's actually, more actual feminism and more women's rights, etc.? There's a lot of people that say women get everything now and there's a war on men. There's a war on both, quite clearly. But actually, women aren't getting more rights. Actually, men aren't getting more rights. No one's getting more rights. I mean, the war on men manifests in the fact that we top the number of suicides. They're always men, and the maximum people in prison, basically. It's always men that get sent to prison. It's always men that get blamed for sex offences. It's always men. Now they've got to the point where someone kills someone in London or whatever, they don't say Asian man anymore. They just say man does this, man does that, whatever. And there's plenty of liberal people who are accepted by the mainstream media that say, white men are horrible and stuff like that on Twitter. White men must die, etc. That's all perfectly normal discourse nowadays. But in Canada, there was a female-only race, and the winner was a man with bulging muscles who identified as a woman. Yeah, that's fair, isn't it? And this woman, this activist, made the point that there's all kinds of legal rights and legal differences. For example, the police can search you, If they identify as a woman and you're a woman, they can search you. If you're a man, they can't. So there's all kinds of things like that. I mean, there's never going to be equality. We always talk about equality, but equality's long gone out the window. As long as there's transgenderism in the middle to muddy the waters and push everyone in different directions. You either support them because of your feelings. Oh, I know trans people, so, they're women, they have a right to be called women. Yeah, you can call them that, but they're not actually going to scientifically, anatomically be that. And that is why you shouldn't enforce a regime of hate speech where if you don't say the pronoun they want you to use, you get arrested. You can't have punishment for hate speech that you can't define. There's no clearly defined parameters. It's always expanding. Mind you, they've actually announced that they're just going to punish people for trigger words, and they can't define that for sure. What's that? Anything offensive? Anyone someone disagrees with? Oh, someone that takes a contrary position. Have to be banned from that now. Have to just talk in your echo chamber. My opinion, as one of the LGBT community, who has been kicked off Facebook for criticising the T in LGBT and suggesting they should have their own, we should drop the T. Because for a start, they have their own pride marches. They seem antithetical to actual gay rights within Islamic communities. For example, if you're caught having gay sex, you'll be killed, you'll be punished. But if you transition, then it's not gay sex. It's, it's a technicality, basically. You're allowed to be a trans, but not gay in Islam. So they're kind of antithetical, really. But don't expect Peter Tatchell, the great gay activist, to mention that, or criticise Sharia, ever. We should be able to criticise who we want, and back it up with whatever point we want, whether we want to or not, and especially in our own community. It's supposed to be in that community, I should be able to criticise it. It doesn't work. I'm supporting lesbian rights at the Pride marches. Oh god, that's terrible, because it seems to be run by men, and actually misogynistic. Lesbians were complaining that trans activism is basically eradicating their presence and their, existence on the planet. And they're kind of right, they're proved. They're not allowed to have a poster saying woman is female. So now we're teaching kids that they can be any gender they want to be. They're all confused. They all suffer from gender dysphoria. They all suffer from mental illness. That's great, isn't it? We've bred a generation of mental illness. Well, either autism or mental illness. And suicide rates will doubtless increase. For some reason I can't talk. Ooh, I wonder if they'll still have those statistics as suicide rates among men, suicide rates among women. Oh, well, they're not allowed to do that now. Is that hate speech? It's ridiculous. Is it now a hate crime to have a toilet, a male toilet? That's a hate crime. Oh, why isn't that transgendered? Is Monty Python a hate crime now? No, and now for something completely different, in a bra and panties. Oh, yeah, it's funny because of that. What about the Lumberjack song? Is that a hate crime now? It's meaningless. We've got all this ridiculous rules and laws and things, hate crimes and trigger words, etc., that the police are targeting now, whilst they're ignoring terrorists and rapists and actually aiding and abetting them. We need to rethink the country entirely. We just need to restart again, basically. We need to turn the world upside down because it's completely inside out, upside down, topsy-turvy. Everything's gone mad. That's why everyone says the world has gone mad. Because it has.